Hey everyone, Jordan here. Sorry it's been a while since you guys have seen me. As you can see, I have a new little sidekick, and this is the reason why I have not filmed any videos lately. We have, bless you, been trying to get used to being a family of 4 now. Did I just say family of 4? We're a family of 6. We got 4 kids, 2 adults. Yeah, clearly we are outnumbered in size. Well, not size, because they're all small people, but we're outnumbered in rank for sure. Yikes. And this is our first little girl. So we are completely smitten with her. But anyway, today's tutorial is all about how to turn an adult size t-shirt and make it into a kid size t-shirt. And I will also show you how you can draft your own pattern so that you don't have to buy a pattern. So if you are ready to learn how to make an adult size t-shirt go to fit your small child, then make sure you stick around. Alright, so I started off by using a t-shirt that I already have, and here I'm using wrapping paper to draw my template on. So what you're going to do is take the middle portion of your shirt and you want to line it up with the folded edge on your wrapping paper. Once you've done that, then you'll want to trace around the outside of your shirt, but don't trace your sleeve. We're going to work on doing that later. So I have one of these little, what is it called? Pattern marker. The one with the little spikes on the end. But I'm just going to use a pencil right now, and then later I'm going to go over it with my permanent marker, but I'll use the little rotary thing, whatever its name is, the pattern tool. I'll use that later to trace our sleeves. So again, just go around all the edges and mark your patterns, and then again, this is where I'm using my wheel. And I kind of have to dig just a little bit so that you'll see the perforations on the paper. And then you'll just line or follow that line and connect everything. And you'll do the same thing for your neckline as well. Here I'm just going over all of my pattern markings with permanent marker just so that I can see my markings a lot better. And also so you guys can see it better as well. And watching this video and seeing my hands, they probably don't look swollen to you, but they were extremely swollen towards the end of my pregnancy. I'm so glad that my hands are back to normal now. So once you're done marking your pattern, I usually go through it and write what the pattern is on it. That way, later when I go back and use it, I know what it is. And here I am just making my seam allowances. For the bottom, I did 1 inch. The sides, I did 5/8 of an inch. And then I think around the neckline, if I remember correctly, I did 1/2 inch. And I don't remember why I did that, but that's okay. If you are using an adult size t-shirt, what I would recommend so that you don't have to add a hem to your pattern is just go ahead and use the hem on the t-shirt. I couldn't do that for this project, so I had to add in a seam allowance. But I do recommend that anytime you are using a shirt to turn into a smaller shirt, always try and use as many of the hems as you can, because it's going to save you a lot of time, and it's already going to look professionally done because you're using a hem that was already made. And usually the stuff that you buy from the store looks pretty professional. So yeah, once you've added in all of your seam allowances, then you'll want to go through and connect all of the dots that you made. Now I'm not going to bore you by letting you watch all of this, so I'm just going to skip forward because this video is already really long. Alright, we're going to go ahead and cut out this pattern, and I don't think I mentioned this in the beginning, but this is for the front of the t-shirt. And once you've gotten it all cut out, it'll look like this. And then we can start working on the back of our shirt. Now I didn't have enough wrapping paper to fold this over, so I'm going to show you how you can make a pattern without having to fold it in half. So I'm going to start by drawing a line on the wrapping paper, and then I'm going to line up my shirt right on that line. And then from here, I'm just going to trace the outside of my shirt again, and I use this ruler just because it's easier to make nice, clean, even lines by using it. And again, you're going to leave the sleeve of your shirt alone. We're just going to trace with our tracing wheel again around the sleeve, or leaving the sleeve off, and then we'll come back to the sleeve in just a minute. Also, don't forget to trace the wheel around your neckline. Since I didn't fold the wrapping paper, I'm just going to make sure that I right fold on my paper so that I remember. Ignore the dotted line up above the fold. I forgot that I didn't need a seam allowance there, but here I'm just doing all of my seam allowances just like I did on the front of the shirt. And just to remind you again what the seam allowances were, for the bottom I did 1 inch, for the sides I did 5/8 of an inch, and for the neckline I did 1/2 an inch. Go ahead and cut your pattern pieces out, and then we will go ahead and work on our sleeves. Okay, so I'm doing the method where I folded my wrapping paper in half, and then I'm going to line up the fold of my sleeve on the fold of the wrapping paper and use my tracing wheel to trace all around the sleeve. Now, I forgot that I was planning to use the hem on the original sleeve on the shirt, so you don't need this hemline down here at the bottom if you're planning to use the hem on the sleeve. But you do want to add in the seam allowance to the top of the sleeve, and for that I used a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Yay, here comes the fun part. So we are going to flip the shirt right side out, and we're basically just going to start deconstructing, good grief, this shirt. Make sure you don't cut into the sleeve, so you want to go to the left or to the right side of the hemlines on the original shirt, and also make sure you don't cut into the collar on the shirt because you're going to use that later for the new collar on the new shirt. And this is what it looks like once you've done that. Whoop whoop. Alright, let's go ahead and work on these sleeves. Line up your sleeve with your pattern piece and just go ahead and start cutting. Next, you'll want to go ahead and measure out the collar on your kid's shirt. That way you can go ahead and cut the collar to the same length for your new shirt. Alright, let's go ahead and work on the back of our shirt. So we're just going to line up our pattern piece on the fold of the back of our shirt, and we're going to go ahead and cut around it just like we did with our sleeve. Again, this is where if you were using the hem of your shirt, you would want to line up the bottom of your pattern piece with the bottom of your shirt. But again, you wouldn't need to add in the hem for the bottom of the shirt. You wouldn't need to add in that extra inch if you're already planning to use the bottom of the hem on the t-shirt. Now that you've done the back of the t-shirt, let's go ahead and work on the front of the t-shirt as well. Again, if you're using the hem of the shirt, make sure you line up the bottom of your pattern piece with the bottom of the hem on the shirt before you start cutting this out. Now that you have all of your pattern pieces, let's go ahead and start sewing this shirt together. So you're going to take the front and the back and put them right sides together. And then you're going to sew across the shoulder pieces at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Next, you want to take your iron and you want to iron your seams to the back of the shirt, because you're going to take this over to the sewing machine and sew along those shoulder seams just to top stitch that seam down. Great, now we can go ahead and start working on our collar. So you're going to line up the middle of your collar with the middle of the back of the shirt and stick a pin in, and then you're going to pull the collar straight down across from where you just pinned and pin again, and then you can work on the side pieces of the collar. You want to do the middle of each piece of the collar first before you pin all the way around. This will just help make sure that your collar doesn't get all wonky. And don't be afraid to use pins anytime you are sewing a collar or sewing anything in a circular motion. Same thing with the sleeve. You want to make sure you use a lot of pins, because otherwise your shirt's going to look all jacked up and you ain't going to like it, I promise. Alright, so now we can go ahead and get started on our sleeve. Now this is where I realized that I didn't do my pattern correctly. This is where I realized, well shoot, I left too much fabric on here and I need to cut some off. because I forgot that I was going to use the hem on the shirt. So I had to go back and recut it. But going back to the sleeve, you are going to put the sleeve and the shirt right sides together, and then you're going to start from the middle of the sleeve and then work on pinning on either side of the sleeve. Although I did find that if I pinned in the middle of the sleeve and then put one pin on the very ends of each side of the sleeve, that helped me in my pinning process. So you'll do this pinning for both sides of your sleeves, and then you are going to sew along the top edge about 5/8 of an inch away from the edge of your fabric, and you're done with the sleeves. Now you're going to take your iron and press the seams of your sleeves to the inside of the shirt, and then we can work on pinning up the sides of the shirt. Take your shirt and put them right sides together, and starting at the sleeve, you're going to pin all the way down the side of the shirt. Now you want to make sure that you line up your seams on the shirt where the armpit is, because if you don't do that, then your shirt's going to be a little bit off. So again, you just pin everything up the side, and then we'll take it over to the sewing machine and we will sew again 5/8 of an inch away from the edge of the shirt. All right, we're almost finished with our shirt. The last thing we have left to do is the hem of our shirt. Now, I wish I had done this part a little bit different. So I made a mark on my 1-inch line, and what I did was I folded the bottom edge of the shirt up to that line, and then I folded it over again. What I wish that I would have done is just folded the bottom of the shirt up to that 1-inch line and then hemmed it from there, because I found that the hem of the shirt just looked too tight. It looked a little funky. I didn't get a close-up of it, I'm sorry, but just trust me, next time, or if you're making your shirt, you can make a mark on that 1-inch line, but just fold it up to that 1-inch mark and then just sew a zigzag stitch or a straight stitch along that hemline. And that is it. Congratulations, you just made your first t-shirt. Now go make a whole bunch of other ones. Alright y'all, that's all I've got for you today. The next tutorial, or the next video I'll probably do, is I have a rocking chair in this little girl's room that has some memory foam pads on it, but it doesn't have any fabric on the cushions. So I am going to try my hand at making cushions for that chair, and I will let you guys go along with me on that journey. So I will see you guys next time. Until then, happy sewing. See ya.